Today's daf on the recording, this is the wrong Gemara. Today's daf in Masechet Bava Kamma is Mem Hey. We are very close to the end of the fourth parak, which we may or may not finish today. But today's daf starts at the Mishnah on the bottom of daf Mem Daled Amud Bet. So we are up to 4 lines from the bottom. There's a new Mishnah. And remember the rules we've been talking about, the halachot we've been talking about are shar that damages or kills a person. The Torah talks about paying damage. Torah talks about paying kofar if the animal is a muad, and also talks about the question we discussed yesterday that an ownerless animal, we had a machloket, right? One opinion was that you have to kill the animal anyways. The other opinion is that you don't kill the animal because the pasuk says huad biba'alav, you testify or you make it a muad in front of its owners. If it doesn't have owners, you can't fulfill that rule. We didn't paskin that way, but that was an opinion of Rabbi Yehuda yesterday. Says the Mishnah today. Interesting question of the last application. Shar shehu yotzei li sakel, right? The shar was seen to kill a person. Beit Din got together and said, okay, we have evidence, we have proof. We're going to stone the shar. We're going to kill the shar. V'hikdisho ba'alav, and on the way to the executioner's net, or whatever it's called. Whatever they call it. The owner says, you know what? Why should my shar die? Let me give it to Hektish, right? It says the Mishnah, Eino mukdash. It's not kodesh. And the reason, presumably, we're not going to discuss it so much, is that you don't own it anymore. And once it's on its way out to be killed, it is a shar that is chayiv mita. And so it's essentially ownerless. Now, it's not so simple. That's not really the full explanation, but that's a simple view of it. If you're shechto, let's say you shecht it at that point when it's again on its way out, it's already been condemned to be killed, and you shecht it before it was stoned. Obviously, if it's stoned, it's an avela, but you shecht it properly, then b'saro asur, then you're not allowed to eat the meat. The meat would be prohibited, again, related to this halacha. Again, we discussed this before, that this animal is a shar haniskal, a shar that you have to stone, and therefore is asur b'hana'ah. V'im ad shelo nigmar dino hikdish ba'alav mukdash. But if the baalim are makdish this animal before it's gemar din, so just again to clarify the case, the animal gored a person, killed a person, they brought it to court and they identified this is the animal, but before they've condemned the animal and concluded that it's chayiv mita, the owner said, I'm going to give it to Hektish. I'm going to donate it to Hektish. Then it does work. Im shachatu b'sora mutar. And if you shecht it, the meat is mutar because it was not yet hashar haniskal. It was going to be, it already committed the act, but it's not condemned, and therefore the new status takes over. Continues the Mishnah, somewhat unrelated, but obviously related in the fact that you're changing the status. What if you are masaro l'shomer chinam u'l'shoel l'nosei sachar u'l'socher, right? Now remember that there are 4 categories. We're going to have this as a whole Masechet Bava Metzia about this. There are 4 categories of shmirah. Shmirah meaning you give your animal to someone else to become a protector of it in lieu of the owner, right? And so for many halachot, the shomer, the watcher, meaning the person who assumed responsibility, takes over for the owner in the sense that if damage happens to the animal, that person has to pay it back, right? The question that we're addressing, I'll summarize that in a second. The question we're addressing is what happens if the animal causes damage? Do you say that the shomer is the owner, and just like the owner has to pay or get killed or kofar, the shomer is the kofar, or not? Remember that there are 4 categories that the Gemara goes through, the Mishnah goes through, of shmirah. The first is called shomer chinam, where someone asks you to watch their shar for them, but they don't pay you. You're doing them a favor. And your responsibilities are light because you're not getting paid. You're doing them a favor, right? The second category is shomer sachar, is where they pay you to watch it. So you're getting reimbursed, so you have a higher degree of watching. The third category, or the least permissive, is shoel, where you borrow the animal to use. Remember, shomer is not allowed to use the animal. They're only watching it. The third category is where you are shoel, you borrow it to use it, and there you accept the most responsibility because you're getting benefit from this thing. And so those are 3 categories. There's a 4th category called socher. Socher is where you rent it, right? You pay money to use it. So there's a big debate, huge debate in Bava Metzia, where a socher fits into the category. Is a socher responsible like a shomer sachar, who's getting paid, but he's paying? Or is a socher like a shomer chinam? He's not getting paid. So we'll discuss all of that. Says our Mishnah, regardless, if you give your animal to any of these watchers, right, these other owners in lieu, I will call them, shomer chinam, shoel, nosei sachar, and socher, nichnesu tachat haba'alim. They enter responsibility in place of the owner, so that if while they're watching the shar, it's a muad, then and it damages, mishalim nezik shalim. The watchman, the socher, the shoel, has to pay full damage, and if it's a tam, mishalim chatzi nezik. So then they have to be chatzi nezik. Okay, so you give them responsibility. Tanu Rabbanan. Now let's read this in a Braita where we'll go through it in more detail. Shar shehimit, a shar that has killed a person, achlo nigmar dino, and you have not yet condemned it in court, though you know it was done and you're going to condemn it, but it hasn't happened yet. Says the Braita Mecharo, the top line now of Daf Mem Hey Amud Aleph, machor. If you sell it, it's a sale. Now you're still going to kill the animal, right? But let's say it's going to take 2 days or something, and this guy says, "I want to rent your shar. I need it for plow my field one last time. I'll give you $20." Right? It's not worth that much because it's going to be killed tomorrow, but it's a sale, and in fact, you can use it, and you can take the money. Hektisho mukdash. If you give it to hektish, it belongs to hektish, right? And no, we still might kill it. It's a debate, but the point is that it belongs to hektish, and if someone then uses it, they're chayv mi'ila, like something that goes to hektish. Shachaton, if you shecht it, b'saro mutar, you're allowed to use the meat. The meat is totally kosher, right? Ichsiro. Now, says the Braita, what if you have a case of a shomer and someone gives me their shar to watch, and I, let's say, don't do such a good job watching it, the shar gores a person and kills them. Before it goes to court and is condemned, I take the shar back to the owner and I say, here's your shar back. The police might be calling you, right? You might get a phone call. So hichziro, says the Braita, second line, shomer hichziro shomer lebeit ba'alav muchsar. Then you've returned it. You gave back the animal that you borrowed or that you were watching, even though it has committed a capital act and the animal is going to be killed. You don't have to pay. You were not negligent. You were negligent, but you weren't negligent in your shmirah because you returned the animal. Now, that's if it's not a Gemar din yet. Says the Braita on the second line, Misha Nigmar dino. If they've already condemned this animal in court, they've said this animal has been proven to have gored, we're going to kill it tomorrow, right? Or in 5 days, whenever they're doing it. Then machroin machor, you can't sell it. It's not something you can sell. It's basically a dead animal. It doesn't have status as an animal. Hikdishoin mukdash, and if you give it hektish, it's not kodesh. And shachato bisaro asur. If you shecht it, you can't eat the meat, even though you shechted it, because basically it's the meat of a dead animal. Hichziro shomer lebeit ba'alav. Now, the final case, if the shomer goes back, because remember, it's a live animal, it's walking around, it's just been condemned, and you go back and you return it and say, sorry, it got into an unfortunate accident, and the court's going to come to kill it, but here's your animal back, right? Says the Braita, Eino muchsar. You didn't return it. The owner can say to you, this is not my animal, this is a dead animal, basically, right? You didn't give me back my animal, you got to go buy me another shor. You got to go pay me whatever you'd pay me if you didn't return something that you were supposed to watch. Rabbi Yaakov says in the Braita, no, I disagree. Even after the animal was condemned, you give back the animal, you gave back the animal. So all you were supposed to watch an animal, you returned an animal. Unfortunately, along the way, unfortunate things happen. It doesn't matter. You gave back the animal. It says, what's the machloket? You know what I would say the machloket of the Tanna Kamma and Rabbi Yaakov about whether if you return an animal after Gemar Din, it still counts as returning it. It must be, maybe they're arguing about Rabbanan say, Ein omrim b'Yisurei Hana Harei Shalcha Lefanecha. You don't say with Yisurei Hana'ah, here's your thing. Let's say, here's an example that we're going to talk about, we've talked about before. I go to someone and I borrow a bottle of whiskey, right? And not to use, just to have. Sometimes you want to have it on your shelf, right? You look like you're a big drinker, if that someone likes that. So I borrow a bottle of whiskey and I forget to give it back, and Pesach happens, right? And of course, it's chametz. Chametz shalavar avar lava Pesach is now asur bahana. So right after Pesach, I go back to the guy and I'm really sorry I forgot to give this back to you. Here's your bottle of whiskey back, right? Now it's the same bottle of Jack Daniels, right? The problem is that now it's asur bahana, right? So I borrowed something that was mutar, and I'm giving back something that's asur. So have I fulfilled my responsibility to give it back, right? So that's a machloket. So presumably it's the same thing with the shor. The shor that's been condemned to be killed is now asur bahana. If, according to one opinion, if I give it back, I'm doing nothing. According to another opinion, if I give it back, at least I gave back the object. It's still intact. So that seems to be the machloket, right? The Rabbanan Savri, Ein omrim, you don't say bisurei hana rishal chalafanecha. You can't say, banisur hana, here's your bottle back. Sorry, it's chaser b'hana, but it doesn't have any difference. I didn't drink any of it. And Rabbi Yaakov says, you can say that. Omrim bisurei hana rishal chalafanecha. So that seems to be the machloket about the shar that has been condemned. So it's a shar haniskal. And now, can you give it back or not give it back and absolve yourself of payment, right? If you say you can't give it back, it means you got to reimburse a shar. If you can give it back, you say, sorry, maybe you won't want to have me watch it next time. Amar Rabba. Now, Rabba says that's not the case. The Kuli Alma, actually, everybody agrees, Omrim, that you're allowed to say, B'Yisrei Hana Eishel Chalafanecha. You're allowed to say by Yisrei Hana, look, you asked me to watch a bottle of wine. You asked me to watch a shar. Here, the shar is back. I'm sorry that you can't use it anymore, right? And the reason why we know that that's the case is because in Cain, if that was the machloket of the Chachamim and Rabbi Yaakov, instead of arguing about a shar, they should argue about the common case that I just described of chametz. Everyone relates to chametz, right? Im Cain, niflog le'inyan chametz b'Pesach. They should have argued about chametz b'Pesach. Elahacha, the question here is not whether you can return something that's asur b'hana. You can return something that's asur b'hana, right? So why does Rabbi Yaakov say, why do the Chachamim say that you can't return the shar after Gemar Din? The case is, begomrim dino shel shar shelo b'fanav k'miflagi. The question is whether they would have been able to conclude the din in front of, without the shar, right? And the Rabbanan say, we'll see why. The Rabbanan Savri, look, ein gomrim dino shel shar ela b'fanav. You cannot condemn an animal unless it's standing in front of you. You know, like we know by a person, there's a halacha, which we're going to see in Sanhedrin, that you can't do a din with an abstention, right? Because the person has to be able to defend themselves, has to be able to, people have shame accusing someone if they're standing there that they don't have if they're not there. Person needs to defend themselves, to argue back. You can't condemn someone or do a din without the person there in Jewish law. I don't know how practical, but in Jewish law. The question is the same thing true about an animal, right? Animals do not defend themselves. And I would imagine most Adim don't have a lot of shame about testifying about an animal that's looking them in the face, right? But remember we said yesterday, kimitata balim kach kimitata shor, right? That you compare the human repercussions to the animal repercussions. So you need to have the exact same halacha. According to the Chachamim, this is how Rashi understands this sugya. According to the Chachamim, you need the animal to be there to have the Gemar Din. And so what the Shomer should have done is the Shomer was supposed to be watching the animal. He did a terrible job. The animal got out, killed a person. Now, we'll see in a minute whether it was his fault or not. But the animal killed a person. What the Shomer should have done is they should have said, sorry, guys, I got to give this animal back to its owner, right? And if you give it back to its owner, it can't go to court anymore. They can't kill it. Now, of course, Beit Din could go to the owner and say, sorry, we need your shar to come in. But the owner can maybe hide it. I don't know what the owner would do. But the owner says to the Shomer, it's your responsibility for not giving it back to me, even after I committed the act, because they would never finish the din if I wasn't there, if it wasn't there. And the fact that you didn't give it back to me means that you should be punished. So let's read that inside, right? The fact that you allowed it to have a Gemar Din without giving it back to me means you have to pay me. So Rabbanan Savri, Ein Gomrim Dino Shel Shar El B'Fanav. You can never condemn and finish the halacha of a shar, or a human, of course, but a shar we're talking about, unless it's standing in front of the court. And so the Amarle, so the owner can say to the shomer, Iha drita nihili, right? If you had given me the animal back after it killed the person, but before the court condemned it, havi marak to the leila agma. I would have sent it out to the fields. I would have, run away shar, right? We'd have sent it out to the swamps to hide. And and court would have never caught me, maybe. It's a little far-fetched, but a hashta, now, you have given up my shar to a authority, to the courts, that I can't fight. Right? You obviously can't fight the courts, as they say. You can't fight City Hall, right? So I can't, now that it's been condemned, of course you can give the shar back to me, but the courts will come to me and take it, and I can't get out of their hands. And Rabbi Yaakov, so therefore I have to pay you. And Rabbi Yaakov suffered, no. It wouldn't have helped to give it back to the owner, because Gomrim Dino Shel Shar Shelo B'Fanav. They would have, you can have a Gemar Din even if the animal's not there. The Amarle, so the Shomer can say to the owner, Sof Migmar Havi Gamri Leila Dina. They would have condemned the animal, they would have come and found it, they would have killed it, whether I gave it back to you or not. And therefore, my giving it back to you was not the difference, and therefore I am patur from having to pay. Now, my time at Rabbanan, what is the reason for the Rabbanan who say that you can not do a gmar din of the animal unless it's in front of you, because the pasuk that I just quoted says Hashar yisakel v'gam ba'alav yumat. You stone the shor and you kill the owners, and that's it tells you kimitat haba'alim kach mitat hashar, that you treat the animal just the way you would treat the owners. Ma ba'alim b'fneihem avshar b'fanav. Just like for humans, you have to have the person in front of you to have a gemar din. The same thing is true about a shor. And Rabbi Yaakov says, look, I understand the pasuk tells you to compare them, but this is not a rational thing to compare them for. Because Bishlama ba'alim b'nei ta'ananinu, right? The owners have to be there because there's a rationale. They can argue, they can make a claim, but El Shor, par tanato, the shor is not going to start, right? It's not like the Far Side, which had a lot of talking cows, right? This is not a shor that can start making claims about its innocence, and therefore having the shor there is irrelevant, and you don't compare them for irrelevant things. You don't say the same way a human should be wearing a suit, the shor's got to be wearing a suit, right? These things are not relevant, and so the hekesh, the comparison is only for things that make sense. So that is that machlok. Continues the Gemara with a very complicated case, okay? And we are capable, I know we've got the skills in here. I'm doubting it, but okay, I know we got it. So remember, there are 4 cases of shomrim, so I'm going to do it again. Shomer chinam is a person who's watching something and not getting paid. That shomer has to watch it. That's why I gave it to them, but they don't have to watch it if a robber comes or if it's lost in the course of natural activity. They're not chayiv, right? They're patur on gzela and avida. They're only chayiv for what's called pshia. They were super negligent. They did something really stupid, right? They took it out and they left it in the middle of the street where traffic is going, or something like that, right? Because the level of shmirah is minimal that you're required. The shomer sachar is getting paid, and therefore has to do a little more shmirah. They have to protect it from stealing, or from, meaning they have to lock the door so that a robber doesn't come in and steal it, or they can't lose it. You got to put it somewhere where you can't just walk down the street and say, oh, it fell out of my pocket, right? A shoel is borrowing something and getting benefit, and they have to protect it even from what's called onus, right? Even from things that are unavoidable, like a freak hurricane or a storm, right? Now, there are things that even a shoel is patur from, but we'll discuss this in Bava Metzia, right? And again, the question was, if you rent it, where do you fit along that continuum? Because in one hand, you're obviously giving money to the owner, so you should buy a little bit more protection, but you do get to use it. So are you like a shomer chinam or like a shomer sachar? You're not like a shoel, but are you like a shomer chinam where you're only responsible for pshia, for negligence? Or are you like a shomer sachar where you're also responsible for what's called geneva va'aveda, if it's stolen or lost? Okay, that's Bava Metzia in a nutshell. Says the Braita, Tanu Rabbanan, 10 lines from the bottom. Arba'a nichnesu tachat haba'alim. There are 4 categories of people who enter into responsibility in place of the owners. Elohim, shomer chinam, v'hashoel, nosei sachar, v'hasocher. Okay, a person who watches for free, a shoel who borrows and uses it, nosei sachar, person who gets paid to watch it, and a socher, a person who rents it and pays money in order to use it. Hargu, in all of these cases, says the Braita, if they are tamim, if the animal is a tam, then you, like we said before, neragin, you kill the animal, upeturim min hakofer. But the owner, they don't have to pay kofer because you don't pay kofer for a tam. Muadim, if the animal that the shomer or the socher or the shoel is watching or borrowing is a muad and neragim, and it kills a person, moadim, and it kills a person, then neragin, you kill the animal, umishalmim et hakofer, and you have the watchman has to pay the kofer because he or she is the owner in lieu of the original owner. So the animal gets killed and you pay the kofer. And then, of course, you got to go back to the original owner who says, where's my shar? You're like, I'm sorry, it's dead at the bottom of the ditch. So chayavim lahachzir to make sure the ba'alav. You got to pay back the owner. Chutz mishomer chinam, except for the shomer chinam. The shomer chinam is the one exception, because remember, shomer chinam is not chayav unless it was a peshia, unless it was negligent. And this animal is not considered to be negligent. It killed a person. We'll see why. So the shomer chinam can say, look, it's not my fault. Your animal killed a person, and therefore they killed your animal. I can't give it back to you. It's not my responsibility. But everybody else, a shoel, a somer sachar and a socher would have to pay the money back. And in every case, it's the watchman who is considered to be the owner to pay the kofar. Okay, that's the Breita. It's not so simple, but that's what the Breita makes it very simple. Where am I? Amri says the Gemara. 1 second. Hey Chidam, what is the case here? Meaning, how did the shar kill a person? Excuse me. Idenatre. If the person watched it appropriately and a freak accident happened, right? That it broke, it was tied down with steel chains, and the animal broke the chains or whatever happened, afilu kulanami lived through. They should all be putter. Now, not necessarily all, because it could be that a shoel would be chayav, right? But it depends on how much it is. But if it's truly an onus, meaning truly unavoidable, then everyone should be putter. Idelo natri. Now, if you did nothing to watch the animal, then I feel shomer chinam not chayav. Then even a shomer chinam should be chayav because at least he has to watch it, right? That's what you gave it them to watch. He has to do a minimal effort. Amri, they said, clearly it's a case where you watched it partially, but not completely. The natre shmira pechuta, you watched it with a minimal watching, right? We'll see what that means in a second. But you did, excuse me, you actually put it into the pen and you lock the pen so the animal can't get out, right? That's a shmira pechuta, minimal. V'lo natre shmira me'ula, you didn't do a very good watching, meaning it was a door that was susceptible to being blown open by high winds, right? By strong winds. And so in natural circumstances, it was closed. But it's known that there are big rainstorms, right? And so that's the question. Did you have to put it in to a pen that would be secure enough in front of high winds? Okay? Excuse me. Shomer chinam, he watched it. Kota lo shmirato. He did the shmirah, and so therefore he doesn't have to pay back the animal. Hanach, but the other ones, lo kota shmiratan. They did not finish, they did not do the shmirah they're supposed to do. Now, Amrit, says the Gemara, Kimai, who is the Tana who says that only a shomer chinam would be putter in this case? Ik Rabbi Meir, if it's Rabbi Meir, again, we are getting into all these cases of Bava Metzia. Rabbi Meir says, Damar socher kishomer chinam dami. So Rabbi Meir says that a socher, a person who rents an animal to use but pays money, has responsibility to watch it equivalent to a shomer chinam. If that's the case, then in this case, why do you say only a shomer chinam is patur? It should be both. It should be a socher and a shomer chinam. Socher kishomer chinam dami litni chutz mi shomer chinam v'ha socher. So we should have said not just one exception to responsibility, but two exceptions: a shomer chinam and a renter. Ik Rabbi Yehuda. Now, if you're going according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Amar socher kinosei sachar, that a renter is like a watchman for pay, right? So I get it. But then you should have said dami nitni chutz mi shomer chinam. You should have said two, which you did say, right? Except for shomer chinam. But you should have also added the kulan muadim le'inyan beturim le'inyan kofer. Now remember, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion was that, and we're going to see this in a second, Rabbi Yehuda's opinion was that if you are watching it, then for even if it's a muad, you'd be patur le'inyan kofer because you're not considered to be according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to quote this in a second, all you need to watch an animal to be patur is what's called a shmira pechuta for a muad, right? So if you're an owner and you own an animal, it's a muad, and it goes in to tax a person, you're only chayav. We discussed this earlier. We'll have it again today. You're only chayav if you didn't watch it. But according to Rabbi Yehuda, if you did even a shmira pechuta, which means putting it into a pen with a door that can stand normal circumstances but not high winds, you're patur if you're animal because you watched it enough. And so according to Rabbi Yehuda, you shouldn't be chayav kofer even if you're a shomer, as long as you did a shmira pechuta. So it can't be Rabbi Yehuda, right? Amar Rav Huna, Bar Chanina, Hamani Reb Eliezer. It's a third Tana. It's Reb Eliezer. Damar Ein Lo Shmira Ela Sakin. We're going to see in the Mishnah later today that Reb Eliezer says that the only way that you can safely watch a muad is using the knife, by killing the muad. Meaning, if you just lock the door, a wild animal is never considered to be watched. Never. And you're always responsible for its damage unless you kill it. And then, of course, it can't do damage, right? So according to Rabbi Eliezer, so therefore he holds that no matter what shmira you did, you are chayav for a muad, right? Ulinyan socher sav like Rabbi Yehuda. And in regards to whether a socher is like a shomer chinam or a shomer sachar, he holds like Rabbi Yehuda. Damar socher can say sachar dami. So that is one explanation. That's Rav Huna's explanation. Rav Huna bar Chanina. Rabbiya says, no, I don't think you have to go that far. It's Lolam Rabbi Meir. It's going like Rabbi Meir. Yes, if it's according to Rabbi Meir, why don't you say both a shomer chinam and a socher? In fact, Rabbi Meir doesn't hold that a socher is like a shomer chinam. Kidemachlif Rabbi Baravua. Rabbi Baravua switched the opinions of the Tanaim. V'tni socher ketzad mishalem. How does a socher pay? Rabbi Meir omer kishomer sachar. Vidomer kishomer chinam. Unlike the way we have it, that a Rabbi Yehuda says it's like a shomer sachar, and Rabbi Meir says shomer chinam. We switched it around, and therefore it's Rabbi Meir. You are chayav on a muad because you didn't watch it properly. You need to do a better watching, and a socher is like a shomer sachar. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Says the Gemara. Let's go through that case a little bit more detail. Says Rabbi Elazar, 10 lines from the top. Masar sharo l'shomer chinam. If you give your shar to Rosa to watch, but you don't pay her, okay? So she's a shomer chinam. Hizik, if that shar causes damage, chayav. You are chayav to pay the damage that the shomer has to pay the damage of the shar because the shomer is supposed to watch it. But huzak, if the shar gets damaged, then you're patur because you're supposed to watch it. Watching it means you don't do negligent things. But if it gets attacked, I'm not going to stop another shar from attacking it. That's not my responsibility as a shomer, and therefore I can just go to the owner and say, sorry, your animal was gored and it was killed, but I tried my best. Apologize. Amri, so they said, now, hechidami, 1 second. How much did you agree to watch this animal, right? Now, Rashi understands also, actually Tosas understands that this refers to, speaking out how much you accepted to watch it. If when I gave it to her to watch, I said, and can you please accept that you're going to watch it so that it doesn't get damaged, then you accept that responsibility. Then if it gets damaged, you should even have to pay in that case. If you said, look, I'll watch your shar, but if it gets into any fights, I'm not getting in the middle, then even if it attacks another shar, what was I supposed to do? Go chase it down? I didn't accept that level of responsibility. I feel hizik nami li pater. Amarava la'olam, the case is, shekiba lo shmirat nizakav. No. This shomer said to me, I'm really good with the shar. I can handle fights. I know how to get into them, in the playground. I can distract it. I got the red string, the red, whatever, it's not a string, the red cloth. I'll get it out of attention. This animal is known to be a goring animal. It's a troublemaker. Ustama de milta. Now, usually, right? Although it's known to be a nagchan, it doesn't just go and attack people for no reason. So it's a temperamental shar. It knows how to attack. It can use a sword or use its horns, but it doesn't just attack random shar. That's the reputation, right? That's the card that describes the behavior of this shar, right? So kibul aleh, stama de milta, kibul aleh, right? I accepted that it's probably not going to attack other things. So I accept that responsibility. But I never expected that other animals are going to come attack it. So I know that this shar is attacking. So when I took responsibility to watch it, I took responsibility to make sure it doesn't go and cause damage. And if it does, I got to pay. But I didn't anticipate that other animals would come and attack it. And so I didn't protect it. I didn't keep it in a box away from all other animals. And therefore, if another animal comes and attacks it, it's not my responsibility. So I would say an important summary is that it's super context dependent, right? And you have to speak this out. So if you're going to be a shomer, we're going to discuss this as we get to Bava Metzia, you have to be clear about what are the parameters of your shmira. Now, there's a big debate here about whether this is stam or whether you have to speak it out, right? Whether you have to say, look, this animal is known to get angry, and therefore you have to watch it extra well when it's around other animals. And if you don't, you're responsible. Or this animal is known to attract a lot of attention, right? And so if other animals come and attack it, you've got to keep it away from them. But the parameters of the shmirah are all dependent on what is described or what is assumed based on the previous behavior of the shar. Continues the Mishnah on a very similar vein. This is really a continuation. Kashru ba'alav v'mosera. Let's say the owners tie it up, right, with a rope. So that's how you protect your shar. Now it's not necessarily you tie the animal to the rope, but you put a rope in front of the animal, right? So anyways, you put a fence. Here it literally means a chain to the animal, but and the next case is v'na'al b'fanav karaoi. You tied up the gate appropriately. So you took proper precautions. This is not a shomer. It would be true about a shomer, but we're talking about the owner himself or herself, right? You tied up the animal and you did a appropriate shmira. Now, if you recall, this is called shmira pichuta. This is a minimal shmira. You tied up the gate will stay closed unless there's a heavy wind or unless some other animal comes along and crashes into it. So you did what's called shmira pichuta. Again, to translate a basic shmira, we'll call it, right? Not an enhanced shmira. You did, like when you buy things, right, you can get the basic level cable, the enhanced level, right, of your fast internet. You did the basic level of shmira. So you protected the animal, you closed it up, but you didn't pay for any extras. Okay? So that's the basic level. The Yatzav Izik, somehow it got out and it caused damage. Says the Mishnah, Echa tam ve'echa muad chayav, Tivri Rabbi Meir. Says Rabbi Meir, whether the animal is a tam or a muad, you did not do enough. You are responsible for damage caused by your shar. Because you did protect it, but you didn't protect it enough. You should have, you were responsible if your animal could cause damage to double fence, to double lock, to do what's called shmira me'ula, an extra special guarding. The fact that you only did a minimal guarding, you have to pay. Rabbi Yehuda says, and this is the Rabbi Yehuda we quoted a few lines ago, only a tam chayav. If its animal is not likely to cause damage and it got out, you have to pay. But paradoxically, almost, mu'ad patur. An animal that's known to cause damage, that you locked up properly, and then escaped that lock and got out, you're patur. Now that's, again, seems very counterintuitive, right? Because this is an animal that's a mu'ad, which is more likely to cause damage. You would think that you have to watch it even better. Says Rabbi Yehuda, that's not the case. Not clear why. We'll see the psukim, but it's not clear what the rationale is. But the psukim tell us that by a muad, all you've got to do is watch it. Remember, the Torah says, "Huad b'ba'alav v'lo yishmerenu." They didn't watch it, and it went out and damaged. Says Rabbi Yehuda, as long as they did even a minimal amount to watch it, not a minimal amount, but a basic amount to watch it, then and it got out of attack, you don't have to pay. Says the Mishnah, "Shenemar v'lo yishmerenu ba'alav." You didn't. The only time you're chayav is if the owners don't watch it. Vishamorhu zeh, and this owner watched it. Now, the implication of this Mishnah so far is that if you double locked it, then everyone would agree you'd be patur, right? If you locked your shor up properly and a hurricane came and knocked down your super heavy duty fence and your shor got out, you can say it's not my fault. It was a natural disaster, right? Rabbi Eliezer says I disagree with that. Ein lo shmira ela sakin. If you own an animal and it causes damage, the only way to protect your animal, to properly watch your animal, is to kill it.
It's crazy.
And if as long as you didn't kill it, right? And even if a hurricane came and knocked down the fence, if you own a shar, you're responsible. You should know that the shar can cause damage, and it's true about any nezek. Now says the Gemara, what's the rationale for these three tanaim? My time is Rabbi Meir. What's the reason for Rabbi Meir, who says that you are chayav if you do a shmira pechuta for both a tam and a muad, but you're patur if you do a shmira me'ula, you do a better shmira, because kasavar stam shvarim la b'cheskat shimor kani. Rabbi Meir holds, look, generally, if you think about an animal, although they're domestic, they're not watched. Animals are dangerous creatures. Sorry, right? Especially a shor. Maybe not all animals, but a shor is a dangerous creature. And even if it's a domestic kind shor that gives you milk every morning, that is not, don't get too close. Don't start taking your guard down around the shor, right? Now the Torah says that a tam nichayev, that if your animal causes damage, you have to pay chatzi nezek, right, of a tam, telling you that you at least have to have a minimum amount of shmira. If you don't lock up your shar and it causes damage, I'm sorry, even if you lock up your shar and it causes damage, you got to pay if you haven't done shmira mi'ula, if you haven't done super strong shmira, right? Right? And so that's the basic. The Torah says a tam, you have to pay even if you've only done a tiny bit of shmira, a regular shmira. And hadar amarachmana. Now by muad, the Torah says v'lo yishmerenu gabi muad. By muad, the Torah says you didn't watch it. What that tells you is dinibayile shmira me'ula, meaning you didn't watch it better, right? You didn't do any watching. So it's not that, sorry, you didn't do an extra good watching. So it's telling you, even if you watch your animal a little bit, you're still chayiv. When it says lo yishmerenu, it means you didn't do enhanced shmira. You didn't put it behind the double fence, right? Then you've got to pay. The yalef nigicha letam, nigicha lemuad, we compare tam to muad, so that the same halacha is true by both, meaning the basic understanding is that an animal is wild. And so everybody understands you got to watch your animal. When the Torah says you didn't watch your shar for a muad, it means you didn't do extra watching, right? Meaning that's your responsibility. But you've got to, everyone requires you to do basic watching. And even if you do that, you're still chayiv, right? That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, I disagree with the assumption. Because stam shvarim b'cheskat shimur kaimi. I disagree. In general, we don't assume a shar is going to attack a person. So if you have a shar that's not known to be an angry shar or to be a roused up shar, you assume it's docile. It's not going to attack someone. Amar rachmana tam nishalem. Why did the Torah say that you've got to pay for a tam? Because the Torah said, look, even though a shar is generally not going to attack, you're an owner of a shar, and your responsibility is to keep your shar away from people, right? The same thing is true about, you could say about dogs, right? Stam dogs are not going to attack people, but if you own that dog, it's your responsibility. It's not the people's responsibility, right? You need to generally do a extra special shmirah, and if you did the basic shmirah and it attacked, you got to pay chatzin nezek. But then the Torah comes and says, what about a muad? Hadar amarachmana by a muad, below yishmerena gabi muad, and that tells you didn't na'avin shmira me'ula. It implies that you didn't even watch it well, right? Sorry, that you didn't watch it well, but we just said that about a tam. And havi riboy achar riboy, vein riboy achar riboy elalem right? Remember, whenever the Torah says you've got to watch it by a tam, and then it says by a muad, you've got to watch it, the implication is, we just told you that. So whenever we say something extra, it's to actually tell you that you do less, right? A riboy achar riboy is to tell you you don't have to do more than what as you would have thought. You actually only have to do the minimal amount of shmira. So by a tam now, so paradoxically, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you've got to watch it shmira mi'ula, extra special shmira, and if you don't, and it causes damage, you got to pay. By a muad, all you have to do is shmira pechuta, and if you don't, you have to pay. But if you do shmira pechuta and not shmira me'ula, you would be potter for a muad, according to Rabbi Yehuda, right? So read that inside. The Torah excludes, you don't have to do shmira me'ula, you only have to do a shmira pechuta, and if you do that, you're potter. If you don't do it, you're chayav. Says the muad, but we had what Rabbi Meir said, that you compare one to the other. So why don't you have the same rules for a tam as a muad? Says, well, it's a pasuk. Hamiyat rachmana v'lo yishmerenu lezeh v'lo la'acher. Right? It says you didn't watch it, telling you didn't watch this one, but that doesn't apply to a tam. Right? But you need the pasuk lo yishmerenu to say you didn't do it properly. It's meaning what's extra about the pasuk. And kain nichtav rachmana v'lo yishmor. It could have just said you didn't watch it. My lo yishmerenu, that's personal. Lezeh v'lo la'acher. You didn't watch this one, implying that the responsibility of watching, or the patur of watching, only means by a muad, not by a tam, right? So that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, that basically there's this paradoxical requirement to watch a tam more than you watch a muad. Now, of course, there's a few ways. It's not clear why that would be. The Mefarshim speak out a couple of possibilities. Right? One is, of course, that a tam you're chayiv much less than you're chayiv for a muad, right? So remember, by a tam you pay chatzi nezek, but importantly you pay migufo, right? So it's basically the shor essentially pays. Now, of course, not the shor that pays. By a muad, you really start, you pay nezek shalem, and you pay from the aliyah, from the owner's thing. So the question, the real responsibility of a muad falls on the owner, not on the animal. And so therefore the question is, was the owner negligent or not negligent, right? But by a tam, you sort of don't view it as from the owner's perspective, you view it from the animal's perspective. Another explanation given is that, of course, all of this revolves around not just what the animal and the owner of the animal is responsible, but what the public is responsible, right? How careful is a person supposed to be? And so it's conceivable that by an animal that's a muad, you expect people to be much more careful than an animal that's a tam, right? If an animal is known, has a reputation as being a wild, goring animal, it's possible that therefore the responsibility on the public to keep clear of that animal is higher than the responsibility of an animal that's a gentle, docile animal. Where I can say, I wasn't expected to avoid this animal by 500 feet because it was a calm, nice animal. But by a muad, maybe we can turn it around and say there is actually a responsibility on the victim because you know it's a wild animal. You know it's a crazy animal, and therefore you have to be even more careful if there was a snowstorm, or not a snowstorm, a windstorm, and all the fences fell down. You should know, stay off the roads because there are wild sharks that are coming to attack. So there's different explanations. Of course, ultimately, it's a xerata.
The zoo in Arizona was not liable when the jaguar attacked the woman who was trying to do a selfie with it. Because everyone should understand that a jaguar is dangerous.
Okay, that's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. There we go.
Yeah.
Let's try to
According to
finish this
Steinfeld, we
up.
paskin according to Rabbi Yehuda in this case.
That is correct. Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, the third opinion was sorry, this is actually a fourth opinion. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is a fourth opinion that both a tam and a muad, if you did a minimal shmirah, you're patur, right? Meaning even if you did a tiny bit of shmirah pchuta, that's enough. It's only chayiv if you did nothing. My taima, several like Rabbi Yehuda. He also like Rabbi Yehuda who said that by a muad, b'shmirah pchuta sagila, that by a muad, remember he dashed in the psukim to tell you, lo yishmereno means you didn't do it at all. But if you watch it even a little bit, you're putter. But he goes the second step and he says if it's true for a muad, it's also true for a tam. So that's a fourth opinion, right? That you're putter for shmirah pchuta for both. Amar v'ada Bava lo patar Rabbi Yehuda el tzad ha'adash shabo. Interestingly, Rabbi Yehuda says that if you did a shmirah pchuta, you locked the gate, right? You didn't double lock it. You're not chayav if it's a tam and if it's a muad and goes out and attacks, but you would be chayav if it was a tam. Says the Gemara, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if the muad goes out and attacks, you still have to pay as a tam, right? Because for the tam, it's still the animal is a tam and a muad. So you got to pay chatzi nezek migufo, which supports things I just said, right? Said you're a chayav for tzad hada'ashabo. You only pater for the muad part. Aval tzad tamut b'mkomo omedet, but the tzad tamut would stay in its own place, and therefore you'd be chayav for that. We've got 2 more minutes. Let's finish the daf. Amar Rav, very interesting halacha, says Rav, mu'ad the karen yamin, ain't a mu'ad the karen small. An animal that is known, now this is very complicated, but an animal that is known to gore with its right horn is not considered to be a mu'ad to gore with its left horn. Now Rashi points out, you have to know that the animal had an opportunity to gore with the left horn and passed up that opportunity. So let's say you covered the horn, right? You took cloth and you covered the right horn, it doesn't attack. You cover the left horn and it attacks with the right. You understand? So it's only a muad and that of course is very common, right? There's sidedness about animals the same way there's sidedness about people, right? So let's say for whatever reason, and this animal only attacks with the muad with its right horn, it's not a muad for its left horn, right? Says the Gemara, Amri Aliba Daman. Now who's that going according to? Aliba Rabbi Meir, Amr Echatam Echamud Shmira Mu'ulabai. I don't get it. According to Rabbi Meir, you got to watch. How do you do shmirah for one horn and not the other horn? But according to Rabbi Meir, you've got to do shmirah mu'ula for the right and the left, because whether it's a tam or a muad, you need a shmirah mu'ula. Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda. According to Rabbi Yehuda, ma'ir karen small that you don't need to do shmirah mu'ula. Afilu min nami. Even the right side, you need to watch it because as Rabbi Yehuda just said, even the horn that's a muad is also a tam. Right? Is it beitzad tamut? It beitzad mu'edet. Amri says, well, no, the olam Rabbi Yehuda. We're saying this according to Rabbi Yehuda. The low sphere le Ravada Barava. He's not saying like Ravada Barava. He just agrees that with that halacha that the tzad tamut exists. Hachikamra ki haygavna Yehuda mishkachet beitzad tamut umu'edet. Right? That's only in certain circumstances where you find there to be a side of tamut and mu'edet in the same situation. Avo mu'ad legamri. Lo mishkachet beitzad tamut klal. If an animal is a muad legamri, then you don't view it as a tzad tamut, and you don't have to. So he disagrees with halacha, and so this is a machloka that we've had many times before, and is very interesting, is whether or not you look at a muad as containing a tam and a muad within it, or you don't. And we will stop there, and tomorrow we will hear the halacha of Rabbi Eliezer, who says that the only way to watch an animal is not by one fence or two fences, or shmirah mu'ula, it's by taking the knife. That's the only way that you'd be patur. Yasher koach all, Shavua tov.
Yasher koach, Shavua tov. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see you all next week, God willing.
Great.